Tina and I am back and I am so excited for this video. I received the Urban Decay Fall Collection products. Shut up. Shut up. When I received this box, guys, I was so excited because I saw Urban Decay on the return label and the box was so heavy. I was like, oh my god, what did they send me? And I never moved so fast to open a box in my life. And when I saw that they sent me the full collection for fall, I almost passed out, first of all. And then I sat there almost in tears because I was so happy and so excited that I got to preview these products, and I was so excited to play in them. Because let's be honest, alright? They sent me all the liquid Moondust shadows. Now you guys know that I love the Moondust eyeshadows. I did a review on them. I have the full collection. I purchased them myself. I have the palette and I have the 8 new shades plus the 15 existing shades. So trust me when I tell you that I love the Moondust shadows. So I was no doubt going to purchase all of the liquid Moondust shadows myself. I was so ready. I set my alarm, my calendar was all marked like yes, and they sent me all of them. If that's not a reason to cry, I don't know what is. But they sent me all of the liquid Moondust shadows, which I'm so excited to share with you guys. I was a little bit skeptical about them because I saw the swatches on Temptalia and they looked a little bit sheer, and I was like, are they just gonna be like a glitter eyeliner with a sheer base and it's not gonna be really pigmented? But I am happy to report that they are actually pigmented and they do give you a punch of color and shimmer and glitter, and it's wonderful. And I've tried a couple of them. I haven't tried all of them yet, but so far all of the ones that I've tried did have great pigmentation. They have an illuminated trio. This is a highlight trio that they're debuting as well. They also have lashes. Did you know that Urban Decay had lashes? They have lashes. I'm wearing one of them now. Not the biggest fan, you'll see when I apply it, but they also sent the Ultimate Basics eyeshadow palette. Shut the front door. So I'm gonna showcase this palette in this video as well as the highlighted trio, and they also are debuting vintage lipsticks. So it's from their vintage collection, so you know, collections of yesteryear, back in the day. They pulled out some of their vintage shades and they're sharing that with us. They also have some new eyeshadow shades. Well, they're not new, they're re-promoted shades from their vintage collection again, so from yesteryear. They didn't send us those, but I did pick up a couple, and I'll share those with you in an upcoming haul. I didn't pick up all the shades, but I did pick up a few of the shades to try out because some of the shades really called to me. I also use a bunch of their brushes in the demonstrations. I actually purchased these myself. I wanted to do a review for them since they are cruelty-free and they're made from recycled materials. So I did want to get my hands on these and do a review for you. So I'm going to use these as well in the demonstration. And they also did send us the 2 Vice lipstick palettes, and I'm gonna go ahead and do swatches and test these products out for you and do a full review and swatch video coming up, hopefully before they actually release the collection, which will be in the middle of September, towards the end of September, which is typical for fall collections to be released. So stay tuned for that video. But if you want to see some of these products in action right now and get my initial first impressions, then stay tuned and I'll talk to you soon. So we're gonna go ahead and start out with the brows, and my favorite brow pencil hands down is the Urban Decay Brow Beater, and I use the shade Dark, and sometimes I use the shade Neutral Brown, but for this look I'm gonna use the shade Dark. And I absolutely love this pencil and I've fallen in love with it since I started using it, and I use it religiously. It's the only pencil that I use now. It has replaced my Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz pencil, which I was die hard about. There's just something about this product and the way it applies that I prefer over the Anastasia Beverly Hills pencil. So if you're looking for a good brow pencil to try out, I do recommend this one. Again, I use it every day. This is my daily go-to, so it's a no-brainer for me to use it for this tutorial. And I'll just use the pencil to outline my brows and create the shape, and also extend the tail of my brows, which can be a little sparse, so I just extend the shape of my brows and create the outline that I want with the pencil, and also fill in a little bit of the inner part of my brows. Then I will go in with a flat liner brush. This is the Paula Eye Definer brush, and it just has a flat edge. And I'll use the brush just to work the product through my brows to soften any harsh lines that we created with the pencil. And this is also going to help to fade the product through the brows so it doesn't look as intense or as harsh. And then I'd also go in with a brow powder. Urban Decay does have one. This is the Brow Box, and this one is from the Gwen Stefani collection. It's in Bathwater Blonde, but they have different shades available. This is not typically what I would use. I actually prefer my Dior 3D Brow Kit, but for this tutorial, since we're trying to keep it all Urban Decay, I'll go in with the Brow Box. And I'll just apply that product and gently work it through my brows. And the brow powder works pretty well. It's just that I already have a favorite, so I haven't ventured into trying out their brow box in a different shade that would suit me better. But the product does actually work well. Next, I'm going to go in with another one of my favorite products from Urban Decay. It's the Anti-Aging Primer Potion. And Urban Decay kind of pioneered the way for eyeshadow primers. They were one of the first ones to have an actual eyeshadow primer. And the original one was the one in the little genie bottle. It was a light purple, and we had so many videos here on YouTube about depotting that thing because it was such a waste of primer. I can't tell you how hard it was to get the last of it out of that little genie bottle. But since then, they've redone the packaging. Now it's a squeeze tube, and I'm just going to apply this directly to my lids using my fingers just to blend it in. And what an eyeshadow primer does is it helps with the longevity of your eyeshadows. It helps prevent creasing, and it also helps with blending your eyeshadows. And since then, we've come a long way. There are a lot more options on the market now for eyeshadow primer, but I still go back to the Urban Decay anti-aging version because I just love the way it feels on my skin. It applies nicely and it blends into the skin seamlessly and keeps my eyeshadows creaseless throughout wear. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab the Naked Skin Weightless Complete Coverage Concealer, and the shade I use is Dark Neutral. And if you've watched my videos, you know I love this concealer and I've used it numerous times in my videos. And I like that it's not overly creamy, but it's not a dry concealer at the same time. It gives me time to work with it, and then it dries down to a powdery finish, and I really like that. And I'm just going to apply that beneath my brows, and this is going to help clean up our brows, create a nice shape to it, as well as give us a highlight under the brows and give our eyeshadow something to stick to, because I'm going to blend this also all over my lids using a Real Techniques Deluxe crease brush. I'm also going to use a lighter shade. This is the shade Medium Dark Warm, and apply it to my inner tear duct areas because that part gets really dark, so I wanted to brighten that up a bit. And I'm also going to grab this white concealer from Kat Von D. It is the Lock It Concealer Cream in the shade Whiteout. I'm just going to mix a little bit of this in. I want to test this out to see how light and bright I can get my inner tear duct. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab the Urban Decay Naked Basics palette with all 12 of these brand new shades. And all of them are matte except for one, which is Blow. But I'm going to go ahead and grab the shade Nudie and I think a little bit of Faith and blend that in my crease as my transition shade. And I'll go ahead and use my Urban Decay large blending brush. This is the E202 brush, which is really large and fluffy, and I'm just going to buff that in my crease again, trying to get more of a skin tone shade for my complexion. On second thought, I think that's a little bit too dark, so I'm just going to grab Commando and Nudie, and I think I can get a pretty decent shade there. I'm going to blend them in my crease, but apply it very lightly because I think they do deepen up as they touch your skin and blend in with a moist primer or concealer. I think I could have gotten away with just using Nudie in the crease because I think it would have matched my skin tone a lot because it looks a little bit darker when I mixed it in with Commando, so that's interesting. Now I'm going to go in with Faith by itself, which is that deeper brown shade. And I'm going to grab my tapered blending brush, the E209 from Urban Decay, which is just like it says, a tapered blending brush. And I'm just going to lightly take that shade and apply it to my crease area. Concentrating it just on the crease using windshield wiper motions, just going back and forth to build that shade up and create some dimension. And I'm just going back and building up the dimension with that shade, adding a little bit more. And rounding out my outer crease area as well and outer lid. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab the darker shade Lockout, which is next to Faith, and it's just a darker, richer brown shade. And I'm using the same brush, and again, just building up dimension on that outer lid and outer crease area, just to create a smoky effect. And I'm using circular motions just to buff the color in, and then using back and forth motions to blend it out. Then I'm going to grab a larger blending brush. This is the Smoky Crease brush, the E201, and just buff out the edges of that color so we can soften the color in the crease. And I'm actually going to make use of that orangey brown shade in the palette, the extra bitter shade. I'm just going to pick up a little touch of that and apply it to the crease area. And I'm still using that Smoky Crease brush, which is a large fluffy brush. And I'm applying very little and blending it outwards. I'm not trying to really intensify that color at all. I'm trying to use very little just to warm up that crease and give it a little pop of orange. That color picked up quite intensely, so I'm just cleaning off my brush and going back in around the edges again just to clean up that shape and so we don't have too much color going on. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab Blow from the palette. That's the only shade with a bit of sheen to it on a MAC 252. And I'm going to pop that directly under my brow for a highlight. Whoa! That's a little bit more intense than I expected, so I'm just cleaning off the brush again and then going in and blending it out. And it blends out really nicely into a very light sheen, which is great for darker skin. We don't want it to be that intense, and it blends out pretty nicely and just leaves a very subtle sheen behind. It's not too intense or too stark, which is good. Now I'm going to grab a dark brown shimmer shade that's not from the palette. It's the shade Busted, but it's also from Urban Decay, and I'm going to grab that on a Rite Aid brush and just apply it to my lid area. Keeping away from the inner tear duct, just applying that directly to the lid. And this is a rich, dark, almost neutral tone brown. I'm just packing that onto the lid for a dark, smoky look. And then I'm going to go back in with the tapered blending brush, the E209, and go around the edges of that color to blend it out into the crease, because we don't want any harsh lines at all. And then I'm going to grab that dark red-brown shade Lethal from the palette on my blending brush again and apply that to the outer crease area. And since I have it, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to grab one of the liquid Moondust shades in the shade Space Time, and I'm just going to apply this directly to the lid space. And I'm just going to lightly dab it on the inner lid area. This is my first time using this, so I'm not too sure how they work, so we're going to find out together. And I'm going to blend this out, and I'm going to grab this Moondust eyeshadow brush. This is the E10 brush. And it's a very small brush, and I'm just going to go along the edges of the color just to blend it out. Oh, that dried already. That's pretty cool. Didn't expect it to dry that fast, but we're just going to blend it out the best we can. I'm going to grab some of that on the brush directly and just go over the color, because it dried pretty quickly without me blending it out. So you have to work a little bit more quickly with these so they don't dry in place without you blending them into place first. I'm going to grab a little bit more of Bust and just blend out the edges of that Moondust shade, because we want it to be a seamless fade so it doesn't just look like, oh look, there's something on her lid, and then it doesn't really look blended. So I'm just blending in the edges of the color using the Busted shade. And I actually do have the Perversion mascara from Urban Decay, so I'm going to go ahead and apply this and let's see how we like it. It actually does have a large fiber bristle brush, which I actually really like. So let's see how it applies this mascara. Now the mascara is nice. It's not my favorite. I still prefer my Too Faced better than Sex, but I must say the mascara wand is probably the best part of the mascara because it's really soft and I didn't feel it at all. Like I didn't feel the bristles at all on my eye, and that is not usual for me. I always feel the bristles of the mascara one. This one is so soft I didn't feel it at all. It's almost worth using the mascara so I don't feel that prickliness of a mascara one. But it's not a bad mascara. Like it does nice things to my lashes, but it's just not my favorite. I love a lot more volume than this. But the mascara probably doesn't matter too much because we are gonna apply lashes. Look at that reflection. Isn't that pretty? And here we go. These are the Style Entrapment and they look really nice and natural. So let's go ahead and apply these. These lashes are a little stiffer than I would like. The band is not as flexible. So it does take a little bit more work to get them to stay in place without popping up at the edges because they don't want to curve as easily to the eyes. Now let's go ahead and work on the face. I'm going to grab the Urban Decay All Nighter Waterproof Longwear Liquid Foundation. This guy is full coverage, matte finish, and oil free. And the shade I'm using is 875, which we will see how this works out. This shade looks a little bit too light, but I'm grabbing it on their optical blurring brush. This is the F105, and I'm just gonna use circular motions to buff this over my skin. The foundation moves pretty well over the skin using that brush, but I do see where it is clinging to dry spots on my skin. On spots where I don't have any imperfections, it looks really good, but where I have slight imperfection, I do have to make sure that it's nice and blended so it doesn't look crepey on my skin because it is, again, clinging to dry spots and settling into fine lines. So if you're going to use this foundation and you're not sure about your shade, that's one thing. And then be careful if you are dry or even if you're oily, make sure that you moisturize or use a smoothing primer because this guy is clinging to every spot that is not perfectly smooth. And I did use a beauty blender, a damp beauty blender, to go over it just to smooth out some of the spots where it was a little bit drier. And it seemed to blend it out, but I can still see it settling into certain areas on my skin, like in my smile lines and around my nose especially. It's showing up into my pores and it looks a little bit crepey. Now I'm gonna go in with some concealer. This again is the shade Dark Neutral. I'm just gonna apply that directly under my eyes and a little bit around my mouth where I have some darkness where the foundation didn't really cover up. And I don't want to go back in with the foundation because it looks a little bit crepey. So I don't want to apply more and then have it look worse. So I'm just going to use the concealer. And the concealer, again, I really like this concealer. It blends out nicely and it has a nice color to it. I'm also going to add a little bit of the medium dark warm under my eyes. I wish I could find my corrector in peach because it would be perfect for lightening this up right now under the eye area just to brighten up that area, because with this dark smoky eye I don't want any darkness under my eyes. So I'm really trying to brighten up that area but not going too crazy with bright light concealer under my eyes because I just don't like that look on me personally. I find it very stark and unnatural. So I'm just blending that out using a beauty blender just to make everything blend together nicely. Now let's go back and finish up the eyes. I'm gonna grab the Blow shade again from the palette on a F110. This is called the finger brush. It's just a rounded synthetic head brush. And I'm just going to apply that to the inner tear duct area to brighten it up. I feel like I want a little bit more shimmer, so I'm going in with Easy Baked eyeshadow from Urban Decay, which is just a sparkly champagne. And then I'm just going to go in with a clean blending brush to blend around the edges so it doesn't look so harsh. And then I'm going to go in with my Urban Decay Perversion 24/7 liner, which is just a matte black on my lower waterline area. And then I'm going to apply a little bit of Lethal and Blackjack from the palette, which are the two deepest shades, and smudge along my lower lash line. This brush is a 252 small eyeshadow brush from Smith Cosmetics, and it has a little pointed edge so it can get right up under the lashes. And I'm just building the color up and smoking it on that lower lash line. And then I'll just go in with a blending brush and blend the edges out so it looks a lot more smoky and not stark. And then use lower lash mascara for those lashes. I'm just using my MAC Extended Play Giga Black Lash Mascara because it is my favorite lower lash mascara. And then let's go ahead and finish up the skin. I'm going to use my Urban Decay Naked Skin Ultra Definition Foundation in the shade Medium Dark Golden, which is my favorite powder to set my foundation. And it is a powder foundation, so it's going to add a little bit more coverage, and it does help to almost blur your skin. It's a very soft, beautiful powder. It mattifies and it adds this almost airbrushed look to your skin. So I really love the powder, and the color is really perfect for me. So hopefully this powder will make the foundation look a lot more seamless and effortless and a little bit more smooth in my lines and my pore area. For blush, I'm actually going to use this one from the Gwen Stefani palette. I have the shade Easy, which is the darkest blush in the palette, that middle one. And it's the only one that's going to really look like a blush on my skin and not really look like a highlight. So darker skin, this palette is probably not the best for you because they're not going to really be blush shades. They're more going to be highlight shades on your skin. And this is a large tapered powder brush, the F103 from Urban Decay again. And it's a really beautiful blush. I haven't invested in any of their 8-hour blushes. I haven't tried them out. But this blush is a beautiful blush, and the blush formula from the palette is really nice. So I'm hoping that's the same for the regular blush line. So I just apply that to the tops of my cheeks. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab the Naked Illuminated Trio, which has 3 highlight shades in it. There's a bronzy shade, a very light marbled shade, and then a kind of peachy pinkish shade here, which it's a duochrome shift. Now, I will be honest with you, this shade, Oasis, which is that marbled shade, and then Twilight, which is the shimmery pink peach shade, those are just filled up with glitter and like large sparkly glitter flecks that I don't like. The only shade that looks like it will work for me is the Pyrite shade, which doesn't have chunky glitter in it. It's like a bronzy shade with gold shimmer. I am not a fan of chunky glitter in my highlight shades. I don't want to see glitter particles on my skin. I prefer a subtle shimmer. I'm using the diffusing highlighter brush, the F105 brush. And oh, it's like a dual fiber brush, and it's actually applying this highlight really nicely. Do you see that? It's not like in your face crazy, but you see like a wet shimmer on my skin. That's nice. I don't want to try it. I was gonna say, I wonder if it does the same for the other shades. Like, does it get rid of the glitter? Like, by itself, does it get rid of the glitter? You want me to test it out? I'm gonna test it out. I'm gonna try the Twilight shade, because the Oasis shade is just way too glittery. Let's see. You know what? It does kind of not have as glittery an effect with this brush. When you swatch it, you see the glitter particles, but with this brush, what's it called? Diffusing highlighter. It doesn't look glittery on my skin at all. What do you guys think? Am I fooling myself? Like, it looks shimmery and wet, but I don't see any pronounced glitter. Is that just me? I don't think it's just me. I don't see any glitter in it. But then look, when I swatch them on my fingers, you can see the glitter particles. Definitely you see it in Oasis. This is what, Twilight? And then this one is the one that works for me that's not really glittery. So I don't know what's going on. I think the brush has something to do with it. I'm going to admit I do not hate it. Like, I thought I was gonna really hate it because I thought that glitter was gonna be crazy, but it actually looks good. Now for the lips, we're gonna kick it old school and we're gonna use the shade Roach. This is also from their fall collection. It's one of their vintage shades and it's supposed to be a cream, but it's a deep brown shade. Let's see. But there's shimmer to it. How's it a cream? It's very creamy. I don't feel any glitter in it, but I definitely see shimmer, so. This is definitely a shimmer lipstick. It's not for the tame of heart. If you're not into metallic kind of shimmery lips, this is probably not for you. But I'm gonna darken it a bit using my chestnut lip pencil, just the edges, to kind of make it melt a little bit better with my skin tone, or blend a little bit better. Yeah, that definitely helped to give my lips a little bit more shape with this shimmery lip. I don't hate it. Again, another surprise. I really don't hate it. What do you guys think? I actually like it, especially with the lip liner. It gives a kind of fullness to my lips. I don't hate it. I really like my lip shape, by the way. All in all, I really like the overall look. I think it's very pretty. Except the lashes are just driving me nuts. They're popping up on the inner part, and I don't typically have this issue with lashes unless they have a thick band that's not too flexible. So if you can see, they're kind of popping up on the inner tear duct. Here you go. That's what lashes look like when they pop up on the inner tear duct, which is not a very good look. But overall, I do like how the eyes turned out. The eyeshadows were easy to work with. They blended nicely and they applied nicely. But I will mention that the lighter shades, they look lighter than they do apply. So if you're a little bit hesitant because they look too light for you, just try them out, because if you're my complexion, even a little bit deeper, you can actually use these shades. They do show up pretty well on my skin. Like, I didn't think Nudie would be a great transition shade for me. I thought it would be too light, but it actually worked pretty well. So I was surprised by that, and you can mix the colors and match as you need to. And the liquid Moondust shadow, this worked out really well. Like, I really like how that applied. Compared to the pressed Moondust shadows, it applied the same way it would if you use those damp or with a wet brush. So I really like this. This might be a better option for those of you who don't like the Moondust shadows, like they flake off too much or you think they're too glittery or too hard to work with because they are a little bit looser. These might actually work very well for you. They dry very quickly though, so you do have to move fast with them. But I do really like how the eyes turned out, except for the lashes. The lashes just aren't my favorite. They're just not staying in place as well as I'd like. Alright guys, so here's the overall finished look. And I must say that I am actually very happy with the overall look, how everything turned out. The jury's still out on the foundation though. I still have to work with it a little bit to see how I like it. Probably try it with different primers, because I don't like how it clings to certain areas of my face. When it is powdered down, it looks a lot better, which I always finish my foundations with powder. So it might not be a big deal for me, but that may be a deal breaker for other people. But I do have to wear it to see if it is worth the extra effort, you know, to see if it really holds up, if it's waterproof, if it stays matte, and how long it stays matte, to really see if it's worth tweaking it, working with it, and using different primers to get it to not cling so much to my unpleasant areas. The highlighter was a serious surprise. I thought I was gonna really dislike it, but surprisingly it showed up really nicely on my skin without being glittery and crazy. I think it does have to do with that brush though. Where'd it go? This diffusing highlighter brush, which I am excited to try this brush with other highlighters to see if it does the same subtle effect, because I'm really into subtle highlights. So this really looks good. The The other ones, I'm not too sure because the pink one applied fine as well. So we'll test those out some more, but I was really surprised by that. And the eyes, I love the eyes. I love how it turned out. I love the eyeshadows and how they work. And I do actually like the eyeshadow palette. It's the Ultimate Basics palette, and that's exactly what you get. It's a basic, everyday, neutral matte palette with one shimmery shade that I actually like the subtle shimmer in the shade because it gives a nice highlight under the eyes, well, under the brow. And it's not too stark or not too intense, which I really like. And I was surprised that these lighter shades actually worked on my skin tone and they didn't show up too stark or too ashy. So far, I am really liking the palette. I was kind of skeptical because the matte eyeshadows from Urban Decay, they're not bad eyeshadows, but they're not like my favorite. They're not like, oh my god, I have to have them. So I am very much impressed by the palette so far. And I do think if you're looking for a neutral palette and you don't have one that looks very similar to this that you already love, then this is worth checking out. But if you already have neutrals in your collection, then you might already have a lot of similar shades to this, but it's a nice palette to have with 12 neutral shades, and there is a combination of cool shades and warmer tone shades as well. So I do think it's worth a look if you are in the market for another neutral palette. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed taking these products on a test run with me. I think the best way to showcase new products is to actually show them in action in a tutorial form, so you can see how they perform, how they apply, and see my genuine first impressions of them. So I will go ahead and leave a full list of the products used down below in the description box. Always check the description box. There's a lot of information in there. I'll also leave links to my Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter page where you can follow me along. I am very active on Twitter and Instagram. Well, not very active, but moderately active. So if you want to catch up with me, check me out there. And until my next video, which will be very soon, I'll talk to you. Bye, guys.